What's going on, gardeners? On today's 2-minute garden tip, I'm going to show you all 2 varieties of tomatoes that you absolutely must grow in your garden every single season. Tomatoes are the most popularly grown annual vegetable every single year in gardens across the United States of America, and I'm willing to bet across gardens in most of the world. That being said, tomatoes are one of the more difficult annual vegetables to grow because they are very susceptible to weather and pest-related issues. Most varieties of tomatoes require a long, stable warm season in order to ripen their fruits properly. However, tomatoes hate hot weather, and weather where the daytimes are above 90 degrees and the nights are above 70 degrees Fahrenheit often causes blossom drop and fertility issues. Tomatoes are often highly susceptible to heavy rains, which causes cracking and splitting and brings in a ton of pests. Humidity is also terrible for tomatoes, which causes a ton of fungal and bacteria infections. To make things even worse, people are obsessed with growing large slicer and beefsteak tomatoes because they're impressive looking and they just love those large slices of tomatoes on their sandwiches. The problem is they are the most susceptible to pests, diseases, and they are most prone to splitting, cracking, and fertility issues. That's why all of us need to grow foundational varieties that perform well no matter how bad the weather is, no matter how wet, no matter how dry, no matter how cool, no matter how hot. And I have 2 varieties for you that will succeed in the worst conditions possible. And these 2 incredible varieties are cherry tomatoes called Sungold and Super Sweet 100. Super Sweet 100 is a red cherry tomato and Sungold is a yellow cherry tomato. I grew both of these varieties last year and I was blown away with the results. It didn't matter how hot or humid it got, they always set their fruit, and it didn't matter how much it rained, I was still able to harvest fruits off of the plant. The plants themselves were incredibly disease resistant, and for the first time ever, both plants that I planted originally in March, I was able to pick fruit off of them all the way until the first freeze in late November. They stayed alive in my miserable climate. And the awesome thing about cherry tomatoes is if you live in the deep south where fertility is an issue, these will produce all season long where many other varieties fail. But if you also live in the upper Midwest or the Pacific Northwest where summers don't get warm enough long enough to grow most tomatoes, they ripen so quickly that even if you have cool summers, there's still enough heat that you will get great crops of cherry tomatoes. So now that we're in the middle of winter and all of the seed exchanges are stocked up full of seeds, I strongly recommend that you add these 2 varieties. You will not regret it, and if you have a bad weather year, these will thrive where others fail. And that's today's 2-minute garden tip. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated.